everyone, welcome back to my micro bakery. Boy, was it a busy week, and by bake day I was so exhausted. I started bake day around 5-6 a.m. I'm not sure what time it was here, but clearly I am not fully awake. So last week I made a video and it was my biggest bake day yet, and I think I topped last week's bake day with just a couple more items. So technically this bake day is my new biggest day, but it doesn't really seem like it because it was only by like maybe one or two items. So anyways, let's get into it. I decided I needed the lights off today because I was so tired. I stayed up late the day before watching the new Wicked movie. If you guys haven't seen it, oh my gosh, you need to. It is so good. It had me crying for like hours. But anyways, back to bake day. I started off with my English muffins. Now every time I post my English muffins, I always get someone asking for the recipe or how I bake them. Now this English muffin recipe that I use is not mine. It's from a creator on TikTok. Her username is called The Hoppy Homestead, Hoppy. And if you were interested in the recipe, I believe she has it pinned in like her top 3 videos. And let me tell you, she really knew what she was doing with that recipe. It is honestly perfect. It has never failed me. So I start off by mixing all of my dough the day before. So my English muffin dough at this point has been bulk fermenting for hours. Basically the day before I mix it and then I leave it on the counter for about 5 hours to kind of rise a bit. And then since I don't bake the same day that I do my dough, I usually separate those days because it's easier for me. After the 5 hours, I just put the dough in the fridge. And then the next morning on bake day, this is the first thing I prepared. I do think I put a round of loaves in at this point, so I had my other oven going while I did this. But basically I am measuring these all out to 100 grams and I am shaping them into tight balls, and I want to get this done as soon as possible because these need like 2 to 3 hours to puff back up. So I did that while I had my first round of loaves in the oven. I'm trying to be very efficient on bake day, or as efficient as I can. I'm only a solo person doing this. A lot of the times after bake day, or even during bake day after I finish something, I then realized that there was a quicker way I could have done it or a more efficient way I could have done it. And so I'm just continuously learning. But one thing I try to stick to since getting my second oven, which isn't in this clip by the way, it's in my dining room, which you will see soon. But what I try to do now is always have something baking. I know that probably seems obvious, but like a few weeks before this, I would just get my dough ready for my English muffins with nothing baking. Now, getting the dough ready itself takes like 30 minutes, so that's just 30 minutes wasted while I could have loaves in the oven, you know? So my new motto is to always have something baking no matter what. Basically, no breaks. It becomes overwhelming, but the longer I wait and the more breaks I take, the longer the bake day and the more delirious I get. If you are a baker, then I'm sure you can relate. At the end of the bake day, I feel like I can't do any math in my head. I can't think straight. My hands are like shaking because I haven't eaten in hours because I just didn't even take the time to like feed myself, which I highly do not recommend. Please take breaks and eat. I don't know what's wrong with me. But sometimes while I'm working, I just like can't think of anything else until I'm done working. Anything repetitive because it helps me stay calm. I was probably thinking about the Wicked ending here, and yeah, I was listening to the soundtrack over and over and over again on bake day, probably like 18 times. It's just so good. So once all of my English muffins are fully rolled out, I get a pan and I have these English muffin rings from King Arthur. They're about 3 inches in diameter. I got them from Amazon. They come in a pack of 12 for $21. And what I do is I take those balls for the English muffins, I roll it in cornmeal, which you see is in my bowl right now. I really like this process better than just sprinkling the cornmeal on top because 1, it doesn't get all over the English muffin, and 2, I feel like I'm wasting some because, again, it doesn't get on the English muffin. A lot of them just slip through the cracks of the rings. And 3, coating it first helps the muffins stick less to the rings. Either way, I do have to butter them, but I just noticed that with that additional layer of cornmeal, it helps with the sticking. I also flatten them just a tiny bit when they're in their ring so that they can kind of spread out a bit. But basically they will sit in these pans for, again, like I said, 2 to 3 hours for them to puff back up. And as they are rising, they are going to form into that English muffin shape since they are in the ring. Now this is a very similar process that the Hoppy Homestead, the lady who made this recipe, does. And I just follow it to a T because I feel like it really creates that perfect English muffin shape. So once they are all set up, I cover it with another piece of parchment paper and then another pan, and it will sit just like this off to the side while it proofs. Moving on to my second round of loaves here. This was an interesting day because the day before, on my dough day, I actually made a very stupid mistake. And I shouldn't say stupid, I'm just very hard on myself. But I shouldn't say the day before because I've been starting my dough days on Thursday and the day that you're seeing now for bake day is on Saturday. But I've been starting my dough day at 8 p.m. on Thursday night. That way I can get my dough done throughout the night and have it all shaped by like 6 a.m. so that I don't have to do it throughout my work day on Friday. It's just less stressful for me because on my work day I have to shape during my lunch or after work, and it's just like so stressful, and I'm always rushing. So I've been liking the Thursday night schedule better. However, this week I made a lovely mistake. So I don't know if you watched my last video, but I followed the same schedule for my last video. And I noticed on bake day my loaves were slightly overproofed, and this was because my house ended up getting warmer in the nighttime than I thought. My mom must have put up the heat or something, I'm not sure what happened. But when I went to shape in the morning, the dough looked good to me. However, it must have been sitting like that for a while because on bake day I could just tell that they were overproofed. So on this Thursday, I had that in mind and I was like, okay, I need to make sure these stay cool. So I used cold water, not ice water, which I probably should have done. I just used cold water that was sitting outside because I buy the pre-filled jugs of water from Stop & Shop, and I just had that sitting outside in the cold and then used that for my loaves. And so I wanted to be extra cautious with the temperature. So after I finished with my folds, which was around like 11:30 p.m., I put all of my bins next to the window in my dining room and I opened the entire window. No idea why I did this. I should have just like opened a crack of it. I'm not sure why I had to open it all the way, but I just had the containers in front of the fully open window all night long, and when I woke up in the morning, which I'm sure you can imagine, the dough was stiff, it was freezing cold, and bulk fermentation did not do its job at all. I didn't realize it was only 27 degrees outside, so basically my containers of dough were just sitting in almost like refrigerator temperatures, or that's actually like freezer temperatures. So as you can imagine, bulk fermentation did a complete pause. It was as if I put the dough in the fridge. Now luckily I was off from work on Friday. I just chose to do this during the night because I had some things I wanted to do on Friday during the day, one of them being an appointment at 9 a.m. So since I woke up at 5 a.m. to fully cold dough that was not ready to shape at all, I had to first calm myself down because I was freaking out, and second, I had to make the house as hot as possible, or as hot as I could, so that this dough could get back to its regular temperature and continue bulk fermentation. So basically, I put up the heater. I also put a portable heater in my kitchen facing the dough, and then I also turned on my oven on the keep warm setting and opened my oven and put the containers on top of the stove and in front of like the oven door on my table. And then I let it rest for 1 hour in that heat. When I came back, I could tell that the dough was like kind of spreading out. You could see bubbles start forming again. And so I did 1 coil fold on all of my containers, and then I left it for another hour. When I came back, it looked much better. I started shaping because I didn't have much time since I had the appointment at 9 a.m. And then I just went to the appointment while they sat in the containers to puff back up because I had to shape them early. And that's how I fixed it. So these are my loaves the next day. This specific batch I actually ended up putting back in the oven because you can see on the bottom it needed to fully brown some more. but they were looking pretty good otherwise. They had a really good rise on them, and one of these I completely messed up the shape. You'll see in the next clip. But I ended up just keeping it for myself. I accidentally put it in way too small of a banneton. I bought these new bannetons off of Amazon this week. It came in a pack of 30 and I thought they were taller than they actually were. So this dough that got messed up in one of those bannetons, and so since it was so tiny, the dough kind of flopped over the side as it was like proofing in the refrigerator, and so the shape just got ruined, and that's why it looked like that. But anyways, moving on to granola. Now, spoiler alert, I didn't end up doing anything with this granola because I must have put too much honey or something. I must have read a measurement wrong. I don't know what it was. This is why I always use the scale. I'm wondering if it's because I used cups instead of the scale, but I know I did something wrong because they were in the oven, or the granola was in the oven for like an hour, and it just wouldn't get hard no matter what. And I've made granola before. I know how it cooks up. It's pretty easy and quick, like maybe 30 minutes at most. But yeah, these ones I must have just put like way too much honey in them. My idea with these was to start selling granola at the farm stand. I got these really cute packaging. It's like the perfect size to fit some granola in, so my plan was to make a couple bags and put them out there. I didn't put it on my website at all, so no one like pre-ordered granola. It was something I was just experimenting it with, and that's what I do often with my farm stand. If there's something I want to experiment with or try a new product, instead of making it available for pre-order or like available on my website at all, I always put it at the farm stand first, see how it sells, see how it bakes up, see how I can package it, etc. And then the next week I'll make it available on my website for pre-order depending on how it goes. So that was my plan here. It didn't go to plan. We'll keep trying. But I thought granola would be fun because there's so many different flavors I can do, and I want to try out this gingerbread flavor that I saw because I feel like that would be such a good addition at my stand during December, and it also can make for really good like little Christmas gifts. Anyways, this upcoming week is Thanksgiving and I have a few days off from work, so my plan is to test out some Christmas recipes that I wanted to make a video with. So hopefully my video next Sunday will be testing out Christmas recipes that are successful and not failures. My plan is to test out that gingerbread granola that I was talking about, as well as a gingerbread loaf. I think I'm going to test that out. I'm not sure if that's something I'm going to want to sell in my micro bakery. I did make a pumpkin cinnamon swirl loaf available for fall, and I absolutely hated making it. It was super expensive to make with all the additions, and also it always baked up inconsistently. It would be really heavy, the cinnamon would be spilling out of the dough in the oven, and it would like cause it to burn quickly. So I just had to stop selling it because it just wasn't worth it to sell it anymore. I would end up having to keep a lot of them because they would just burn in the oven. So I feel like that might be the same case with the gingerbread loaf because they obviously have to have like a lot of molasses and other additions. So I don't know, I might just test this out for fun or just to see how the process goes. If it ends up being really nice and easy, maybe I'll add it to my menu. But other than that, I also wanted to make a croissant loaf and just a regular cinnamon loaf. Now, before I talk about everything else I want to make, I just need to pause and tell you what I'm doing here. That way you're not confused. But basically, there is just a lot of waste when starting or, running a business. And for me, the most waste in my micro bakery is these like shower caps I use for my dough bins, or my bannetons, I should say. I do have cloths on my bannetons, which you could see behind me. I could just put the dough directly in there, which I see a lot of micro bakers do and they have success with. However, I don't know if it's like the type of fabric I have on these bannetons, but I noticed that they attract lint. And so that's why I always put something over it, because I do not want any lint to get on my dough. There was one bake I had where I noticed there was like a lot of lint on my dough. And I do wash those cloths, so it was just super frustrating, and basically I switched back to these disposable shower cap things, and it creates a lot of waste. So, as I was going to say, I'm gonna just try to make eco bricks out of them. If you haven't heard of eco bricks, it's basically like stuffing an old container, for example, that water jug I had, with plastic waste, and basically you just stuff it over a long period of time until it's like fully stiff. So I'll be working on this for a while. Basically, people use them to build things out of them. I'm not sure what I would build, but I know there's a website I can donate them to. So that is my plan with that, if you were confused. I don't know why it took me so long to explain it, but yeah. As I take out my second round of loaves, actually I think this might be my third or fourth, I'm losing track. I'll continue with what I'm planning on trying out for my Christmas menu. I did mention the croissant loaves, which aren't Christmas, but I just want to try them out. It's basically regular loaves with butter in them, and they come out super flaky like a croissant. I also want to do just a regular cinnamon loaf using cinnamon chips, because as I mentioned, this is easier to work with than regular cinnamon. Regular cinnamon it causes a lot of spillage with all the water it drains out. So I will be trying that next week. And what you're seeing now is my little proofing table. Well, this table actually serves a lot of purposes, but today it is serving as my proofing table. All of these different bowls and baskets are my pizza crusts. You saw my English muffins, and then I also had dinner rolls. Those sit out for 2 to 3 hours, and I'm starting to work on my apple coffee cake muffins. These muffins use one whole Honeycrisp apple, which I'm cutting up now. And then they have a layer of batter, which is fully fermented, and then a layer of cinnamon sugar in the middle, another layer of batter, and then some crumble on the top. People love these muffins, but this will be my last week making them since we'll be transitioning to the Christmas menu. Now this week is pretty busy because not only am I obviously prepping for my Sunday farm stand, I'm also doing a pickup on Thanksgiving Day. This Thanksgiving pickup is only pre-order, so there's only a 2-hour window open. That way I can kind of just set it up and wrap up early because I want to enjoy my Thanksgiving too. But I've seen a lot of bakers do their Thanksgiving order pickup the day before, so Wednesday night, which I should have done. However, this year I just can't do that because my work schedule doesn't allow me to. So I figured I would just do it Thanksgiving Day. I feel like I didn't want to miss out on Thanksgiving orders because it's such a good form of advertisement. If you think about it, anyone who is ordering is bringing your products to their table where they'll have like all of their family and they get to try it all together. And if they like it, maybe you'll get new customers. And if you don't, at least they enjoyed it, you know? I also really just wanted to provide that service to my customers because I feel like, I don't know, it's just something special. It's something they can rely on. They can like consistently get bread from me, even for holidays and events. I just wanted to make sure they could get Thanksgiving Day orders. And actually, the new mayor of my town, who recently just won in the elections, ordered. So he will be picking up his order on Thanksgiving Day. He ordered some dinner rolls. Besides dinner rolls, I'm also offering classic loaves, rosemary garlic loaves. I'm offering cookies by the dozen, because I figured people would want more cookies than not, especially if they're serving lots of people. And I'm also offering sourdough stuffing kits. So basically it will come with one loaf fully dried out and cut, kind of like croutons. And it will also come with a pack of Thanksgiving seasoning mix, which is basically like dried onion, dried celery, dried garlic, salt, etc. All of the Thanksgiving seasonings. And it also comes with instructions, so customers assemble it on their own at home and cook up a fresh sourdough stuffing. I did have one customer reach out to me and ask if she can get one a little earlier because her family is celebrating a week early, and I did give her one already and she said it was amazing, so I'm really excited to provide these to other people. And now I'm just trying to get some dishes done. These will pile up on bake day and make me super overwhelmed. So I just need to take like a 1 to 2 minute break to clean this up a bit. Otherwise, my bake day will be more stressful. Here is the final product of my apple coffee cake muffins. I actually ran out of my muffin liners, so the other 4 are just in like regular muffin liners, and those came out smaller obviously since I couldn't fit as much in, so I ended up selling those other 4 at the stand for only $8 instead of $10. Now at this point my English muffins are fully proofed, so I get them in the oven at 375. They are going to cook for about 20 minutes until I flip them, and you will see I am still cooking it with the pan on top. This is going to help maintain that English muffin shape because as they rise, they will hit that second pan on top and stay kind of flat instead of rounding out into like a bun. Here is a peek into everything I've baked. We got my apple coffee cake muffins, and then we have a bunch of loaves. And this is my first time using my new industrial cooling rack. This is actually from Facebook Marketplace. I got it for $90. It's working really well. I love it. I need to just get some more pans. So this is about the halfway point with my English muffins. I usually just take a peek at them, see if they're browning at all, and then I flip them so that the other side can cook. And they will go back in for about 20 more minutes. And after that second 20 minutes, they look perfectly golden. And look at that beautiful shape they're able to hold with these rings. They rise a ton. These were so puffy. I am always so happy with those English muffins. Now we are moving on to the dinner rolls. These follow a very similar process that the English muffins do for the proofing time. So these were also sitting on my counter for 2 to 3 hours to puff back up. And then I am just washing them with some egg wash, which is just 1 egg and some water. That way when they go in the oven, they are super nice and browned. My dinner rolls needed a little more time to get that perfect golden color. While those were back in the oven, I just quickly put my banana bread into the oven. These are baking up in like mini/small loaf pans, and I sell them 2 loaves at a time. Here are my dinner rolls. They came out so delicious. I kept one of these for myself because one of them only had, 7 rolls instead of 9, and they were so puffy on the inside like a pillow. I also made these way sweeter than usual because I made these last week and they were good, but I felt like they weren't special enough, so I put more sugar in it and they were delicious. I also finished up my pizza crust. I made 10 of these. These were all pre-ordered. People love these. A lot of customers have been sending me pictures of their pizzas, and it's so awesome. These always bake up really well. Here are my banana bread loaves. Look how beautiful they are. They are a perfect golden color. I love these. And lastly, I finished off the day with my bagels. Actually, I lied because I also made chocolate chip cookies after this. But these are my bagels, just boiling them first, and then I will transfer them to that wire rack for the water to kind of drip off, and then I will bake them. Now, this bagel recipe is on my website, which is linked in my bio. I will also link it in the description of this video, but if you are interested, definitely go get that recipe. I've had a few people, well, actually a lot of people I saw bought the recipe, but I have had a few people reach out to me over like Instagram or TikTok or email, and they tried out the recipe and loved how their bagels came out, which makes me so happy. So yeah, it was really satisfying mastering this recipe because I think I've talked about this before. It took me years to get these perfect bagels. It was really about 2 years, but when I first started, I did not like how my bagels were coming out. The shape was always off. They wouldn't rise. They didn't look pretty. When I started using sourdough, I had no idea what to do there. So perfecting this recipe has just really been super satisfying, and I'm so happy to share with you all. Now look at those beautiful bagels. Look at all of those blisters. They rose so well in the oven. They are perfect circles. I do really like how brown this one got, and I want to get all of them this brown. I'm just super nervous that they will burn, so that's why I took them out. But anyways, here are my cookies that I didn't film myself making. I was probably way too tired to video at this point, but I made 60 cookies. I also made everything bagels. These are so beautiful. And we made it to the next day, which is farm stand day. I finished packaging everything up the night before, pretty late. I was tired. I got a lot of pre-orders. I have 15 pre-orders, which is the most I've ever gotten. And then this is everything left for the farm stand. Just some banana bread, some bagels, dinner rolls, and then a few loaves. This is my beautiful farm stand. I was just putting some things on it so we can roll it up to the front and get it all set up. So we roll it up to the front, fill it with some goodies, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video. Okay, bye!